Good morning. How's everybody doing today? This is Carmela's Rasslin Radio Relived. We were going to have a guest today, and because of technical difficulties, we had to reschedule. I'm not telling you who it is, but we're definitely going to reschedule, and then we'll do it. But in the meantime, we have something really cool to do today. I'm here with my buddy Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. And Jeannie, my sweet buddy Jeannie, and we're going to talk Memphis today. So that's always something I love to talk about. And we're going to talk about our old trip. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff that went down back in the day, and it was really cool. So, Brian, I'm turning it over to you right now.
Well, I don't really have a lot of Memphis stuff. I really wanted to talk about the episodes that we aired of the old show. There's all kinds of little tidbits in there.
Okay.
That you both of you will be able to talk to me about, because I had no idea uh, about what y'all were doing back then. I was on this end. I was on the Memphis end, and y'all were having a radio show and doing things and having guests. And my first question was from the episode where you guys talked about y'all had the Road Warriors, and they weren't doing a lot of this kind of stuff where they had them had them for what I guess you called it a signing. So talk to me about the Road Warriors. Do y'all both? Jeannie, was you there for that?
No, I wasn't there for that. I was most likely babysitting Celeste. So
for Jeannie.
So I was Carmela and Paul's daughter.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of the events, I was there, for, but some of them I was not, because if Celeste couldn't go to the event, then I usually babysat her during the event. So
poor Jeannie, she was a friend, co-worker, business partner, nanny all at the same time. But like I said before, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be here. Period.
This was on, original air date was June the 5th, 1987, and it was episode 9. If you're listening to this episode and want to go back and listen to the original air date, it's so fun to listen to that, to y'all talking and everything. But tell me about the Road Warriors. Were they really cool? Were they nice guys? What was going on?
No kayfabe, right?
No kayfabe here.
So we're telling the truth here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, pretty much they sucked. And I'm not going to lie. Okay?
Oh, wow.
I'm going to tell you the truth. What happened was we got the Road Warriors to agree to do a signing, all right? At the time, Paul Ellering was their manager. Everybody knows that. And the agreement was, that it was going to be Animal and Hawk. I believe we were at the Woodhaven Center, Woodhaven High School, the gym, whatever it was. And we had a good turnout. It was a good turnout. So I'll tell you the whole story. All right. So we're getting ready to leave the house, and we got a phone call. Paul was in the men's room, and I was getting ready. And my little one,
no kayfabe.
My little one answered the phone. It was Paul Ellering, and he said, "Is Paul there?" And she said, "No, my daddy's pooping." She said, "I can't get up to you." So she hung up on him. Okay,
I love it.
And he called back again. Of course, I got the phone, and what he did at the very, 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 very last second was he told us that the Road Warriors would not appear that day unless we paid for Paul Ellering, which was never a part of the deal. We never wanted him. So it was $2,000 a person, Animal, Hawk, and then at the last minute, we had to find a way. It was the same day. We had to find a way to come up with another $2,000 for Paul Ellering. Unfortunately, that was Paul's forte. God bless him. Paul was the background. Paul was a silent partner. Paul was the info guy. Paul had the connections, and Paul had to find the cash. That was the whole 9 yards, okay? Joel did his part, of course, nothing against Joel, but we were 2/3 owners. So, Paul had to go making a million phone calls, finding people, getting the money. Anyway, we did. And they were those kind of people who at the very last second, when they said they were done, they were done. Even if it was right in the middle of an autograph, we're done. Goodbye. Okay. People love the Road Warriors. I loved them at the time too. Their persona, their wrestling, their everything else. But I was not happy that day at all. And of course, with my personality, I wanted to go smack them both in the face. I really did. And I wanted to say, who the hell do you think you are? You know what I'm saying? But they thought they were the Road Warriors, and they were. I think deep down inside, they thought they were for real.
Living a gimmick, brother. Living a gimmick.
Exactly. That's what they did. But you know what? Living the gimmick wasn't in my forte because my gimmick involved money, and I didn't have what I needed at the time because that was not the agreement we made. Now, again, you have to understand there was no big contract signings back then either. You're talking 40 years ago. Everybody had word of mouth. We all trusted each other. I've never had an issue with anybody else, but we had an issue with them. We did, like I said, draw, but unfortunately we didn't draw enough people to make that money back. So we did wind up losing money that day. And we never asked them again. And that's the same problem I'm having now. And I'm going to make this public. I don't care. The same problem we're having now with getting some of the wrestlers to come on the podcast. Now a lot of people want to get paid for podcasts. Well, God bless you. Mostly you're wrestling already. You've already been paid multiple dollars over the years. If you didn't save that money, that's not on me. I'm starting this now after 40 years on an old lady, as Jared always says, you're 66 years old. And I'm just starting this because I want to have fun. It's fun. I like it. I want to do it. I want to show my friends. I want to talk about my friends. I want to talk about experiences. Don't tell me you want me to pay you. That's not happening. I'm sorry. It's not. Okay. And the prices that these people want is ridiculous. And a lot of them are not worth anything. I'm sorry. So don't come on my podcast if you don't want to. But that's the way it's going to be. So
you got to do that. You got to be that way. I had guys, like I told you, that want me to buy shirts and stuff like that. It's funny because when I first got started, and you'll find this, when you first get started, then, you'll have some people say, yeah, I'll come on the podcast, and then they never get back with you. And then when the podcast gets a little popular and you have more people listening, they go, hey, I'll do your podcast. I actually ignore them. So,
yeah, well, now I don't want you. How about that?
Yeah, I don't.
And it's funny because I have always been this kind of person. If you're honest with me, you work with me, you're kind to me, I will reciprocate 100%. But if you think that you're better than me, that's where the buck stops right there. So, but that's what happened with the Road Warriors. Again, they were nice people. Don't get me wrong. We could talk and laugh together like there was no tomorrow. They were very nice when they weren't in costume. But when they had their gimmick and all that other stuff, because they had big heads, because everybody paid them so much money to do what they did because they were the Road Warriors.
You got to think of the time period too. These guys were the most overact in professional wrestling. We always called it, we called them the roadies. That's what we called them inside terms. And they even have something called the Road Warrior Pop that become part of the business. Yeah. And that's when that music started and those guys came out. They had the biggest. So, it's living a gimmick is the idea is that it starts to go to your head and you think, I am one of the, who am I? Why would they, that was an asshole move. I'm sorry. But when we're getting ready to do something and you're saying, we need $2,000 more, and they don't understand that in the sense that if they would have not done that to you, number one, you'd probably made some money. And number two, you'd probably brought them back.
Yeah, exactly. They don't realize that, you're a working person. And, I've had, like I said it before, 30 years I worked 3 jobs, and I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to give my hard-earned money to somebody who's already been paid for years, but then we have people who are kind and who understand that and who are friends, like the guests that we've had on so far have been amazing. They have been wonderful. They have been kind. I mean, and you know what? A lot of them are getting money for going to cons, and a lot of them are getting money for going to signings, and a lot of them are getting money, obviously to wrestle and all that, but they never asked for money for us. And to me, that shows me that the friendships that we made along the way meant something. and it meant something to the guests that we had and the guests that we're going to have. Because like next week we have a super, super huge show, and not one dime was asked for. And I am honored and proud of that, because you'll see next week what a great show it's going to be. But, so what's your other question, Brian?
All right, let's talk about what did I have? Oh, I noticed something that Joel was doing, and just want to know if it's some, because when I first started getting kayfabe sheets and everything, I thought it was a big deal to know everyone's real name. Okay, so it was like and after and we talked about this before, but I think on this show, but after I got in the business, around the business, I noticed that a lot of the guys, you don't call them by their real name. You call them by their work name. You don't, no matter like, for an instance, he called Honky Tonk Man Wayne Ferris. Was that something y'all did to like smarten up the fans, or was it just one of the Joel things where he was trying to show everybody, hey, I know his real name? Because even back when I met Honky Tonk Man, I said, hey, Honky, how's it going? And shook his hand. I didn't call him. I didn't say, hey, Wayne, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Did he like being called Honky?
He didn't care. So, yeah, you remember he had a thing in Memphis. He came out and he had Honky Land. He said he was putting up Honky Land in Memphis.
Yeah. Well, what happened was that was more Joel thing.
Yeah.
Joel did that a lot more than we did. Again, Paul, you got to understand, Paul's always in the background. Paul, he did everything privately. Paul was never an upfront person with that. To this day, I still call people, by their wrestling name, especially on the air, obviously. But when I'm talking to them in person, like Davey O'Hannon, I still call him Davey all the time. I was on the phone with him last night. I'm like, Davey. Yeah, his name is Dave, but it's Dave. I call him Davey anyway. But I call people by their, like Tito Santana. Her name is Merced Solis. I can't remember that on a bad day, let alone a good one, So I call him Tito all the time. Ivan Putski. I've known Ivan for literally almost 50 years. And I, to this day, still call him Ivan. I never call him Joe. It's just a thing. It kind of stays with you, I think. What do you think, Jeannie?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's even though you might have a personal relationship with someone, and maybe it's always because there was so much, okay, you're not going to go out with Ivan, especially back at, in the 70s, and saying, calling him Joe, because other people are around or whatever. In private, maybe not, but, it's just keeping the gimmick going, I guess. You know what I mean? And plus everybody else knows.
Yeah.
Only knows them as that. So
exactly. Well, especially back then, because kayfabe was big back then.
Right.
And, again, for anybody who doesn't understand what kayfabe is, who's just tuning in, kayfabe is a word that was given to keeping the gimmick alive, keeping it secret, keeping it alive. Kayfabe was, if I was talking to you, let's say, about something personal in wrestling, and I was giving you a wrestler's real name, or I was giving you something about the wrestler's family, another wrestler was coming by and could hear it, and he'd say kayfabe, and you'd shut up right away. Where the word actually came from, I don't know. I'm going to look it up. But that's what kayfabe means. So we don't do that on this show. And like with Ivan, when I called him Ivan all the time, to me anyway, because of the relationship we had, it made him a different person. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't Joe to me. Like Dominic DeNucci, that wasn't his last name. Dominic was his first name, but I always call him DeNucci. I've always called him DeNucci in the 40-something years I've known him too. But, I think it's something that you get used to more than kayfabe.
It is, because also, like, there's probably one or two guys that I worked with down here when I was managing that I would call their real name. And I don't know why, but most of the time it was all, there was a guy named Rude. And we talked to each other outside of wrestling, So a lot of times I did call him Thomas, but I remember making a mistake during one of the matches where I called somebody because I had another relationship, a different relationship than
Exactly.
wrestling, and I called him David. He was Christian Jacobs was his wrestling name. I
Hmm.
said because I got mad at him because they went up a scaffold thing and it was just horrible. I thought they were going to fall and kill themselves. And I yelled, David, get the fuck down from there. Uh, and he was like, dude, kayfabe, kayfabe,
Yeah, kayfabe, stop that. Yeah, yeah.
But
And I,
there's hardly any guys that, even though I know their legit real name kind of thing, they don't. Backstage, I've never heard them come up to people and call them, everybody has their own little name. Like, if you're Boogie Woogie, you might call Jimmy Valiant Boogie Woogie. King, you always call Lawler King.
yeah.
Superstar, stuff like that, but you never, came up with their real name kind of thing.
Well,
Uh,
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but no, I mean, I just think that's a different perspective that a lot of people listen to podcasts or have never been around the business. You promoted. Jeannie was always around it. She understood the business as it was, and keeping everything quiet and kayfabe. But some people don't understand that it's kind of weird. I think it's kind of weird because so we wouldn't call Harrison Ford Indiana Jones, right?
Right.
We would
No,
say, "Hey,
exactly.
Indy, blah blah blah." But when it comes to wrestling, we usually do call them by their work name. So, who was organizing? And I could not place this dude. Who was organizing the Memphis trip? And he talked about releasing a VHS. Was that the hair match VHS? I can't remember what all that was about. Do
The,
you?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I have to really re-listen to it again because since then I have listened to multiple tapes. So I kind of have to re-listen to it again. But we did have somebody planning everything for us at the time. Probably Joel. Joel's like a lot of the wrestlers where he
Well, the guy
remembers
came
dates,
in.
times.
I think he said his name was, I don't know, John Kelly. Was that a name?
Oh my God, yes, John
Now, who
Berzachelli.
was
Yeah, yeah.
that? Who was that?
Okay, years ago, okay, John Berzachelli was technically an agent to Jerry Lawler. Okay,
Okay.
he had even taken out a life insurance policy on Jerry Lawler, believe it or not. And I laughed at that because I said, "Then what? Are you waiting for him to die?" And he goes, "No, but he's a prodigy. He's somebody that I take care of, et cetera, et cetera." But he did a lot of that. He had close proximity to Jerry. He did a lot of that. Now I know who you're talking about. Today, anybody who lives in New Jersey knows that he is some kind of a committee man. He's in politics now. He takes care of a certain area in New Jersey. I hear Berzachelli's name like all over the place. I actually tried to call him and leave him a message and ask him if he wanted to do the podcast, probably knowing that he wouldn't do it because he's in politics. But you never know. I mean, my mother always said, if you don't ask, you don't know. I've had egg in my face so many times over the years. I don't care. It can make an omelet. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. But yeah, that's who John Berzachelli is. And he was very close to Jerry. When we were on the show, I knew this was going to get back to the Memphis anyway, but we were on the show, Jerry's show on TV when we came to Memphis. John was on the stage with us, if you remember that
Oh,
correctly.
I'll have to go back and look because
Yeah.
when he started talking, it was he knew that about me too. That was the show where I
Yeah.
called in, so he
Yeah.
knew about me and who I was and all that kind of stuff. So I was just like, I don't really remember John, but
Yeah.
there's some people I don't even remember anyway. So it's called getting old. So,
Tell me
uh,
about it.
you had two guys. I don't know what y'all were doing. I just thought some of this was, ooh, guys, we're getting a thunderstorm here. Just
Uh-oh.
let's in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Uh, Live. So if I get a tornado here, I am in Tornado Alley.
Stop
But
it.
you
I
had
can't
two
believe people
guys y'all
actually
were
moved
talking
there.
about as if y'all were working. Missy Hyatt was going to be in one of the guys' corners, and y'all was going to put up a fight with them two. who were these guys? Were they just fans? And I hate to use the word, but were they just marks? Do you remember? You remember that stuff?
Oh, Mark from Cherry Hill.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me.
Wait a minute. Was that Mark and?
Yeah,
it was Mark, but I can't remember the other name. Let me see if I got it.
From West Philly.
Yeah, James from West Philly.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
Who were those guys? And Mark from Cherry Hill, he was so excited. I was cracking up.
Well, okay, they were what you would call standards as far as our fans go. They were always there. Mark from Cherry Hill had this really drawn out voice.
Yes.
He used to always call the radio show and say, hi, this is Mark from Cherry Hill. And everybody would crack up because he was so funny. And he would come up with the best questions, He
was so excited. I was just dying. Yeah. I was like, oh, my God.
He was. And James from West Philly was the more seasoned, I would say. He did a lot of the research, and he was very knowledgeable about things. So we, always tried to set up stuff with the fans, the people from our fan club, because it kept them involved, And Missy Hyde had done a luncheon, I believe it was, with us. I have a picture, as a matter of fact, which if she ever agreed to do the radio show for free, and I'm sorry, I still call it a radio show, but I always put up a picture of her and my Celeste. We have a picture of her actually holding Celeste, and we used to do it at a place called the Bus Stop that literally had a real bus parked on top of the roof, okay? And we had a deal with the person who owned the place because he actually loved wrestling. And we had, when Missy was there that day, she was very sweet, very kind. And, we did this whole thing with them, and they freaked out and they loved it. That's like the time we had Jerry up for dinner. We had him, and I think it was Billy Ciccolini and Paul and Joel all did the Fargo strut. I have pictures of that too.
I was there for that one. Yes. That was so much fun. Cool. Oh my God.
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff. So anytime we had a wrestler in for something, we would definitely involve the fans because that's how they would, stay fans, and they loved it. So, yeah, that's what happened with that. I'm actually thinking right now of a way to try and incorporate this again. I was actually talking to Davey O'Hannon about this, maybe having an event at some point, where we can do stuff. And
what about those two guys? What are they still alive? Do you know Mark from Cherry Hill? And I'd love to talk to those guys.
Well, James is still alive and well, from what we understand. Jeannie, I think, talks to him.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know. I have no idea what happened to Mark. I mean, Mark, if you ever listen to this, reach out to us because he just kind of fell off the face of the earth.
We did. You don't remember? I know you probably don't remember his last name or anything.
God, no.
We need to bring James on, guys. He'll talk about the club a different way. He see it totally different than anyone else would. It was fun and it was weird in a way too. I was just like, what the hell are they doing? But it was, different time, different thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to do. I want to bring some of the fans on here, like maybe do a 2 or 3 fan episode where,
that would be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to reach out because it's not just wrestlers. I want the fans involved as well, and I'm going to reach out to a few of them as we go along. Yeah, definitely. I want them on here.
All right. We had, I'm going to talk to both y'all about this. Is there on your radio show, and this was led a lot. It sounded more like Joel's idea, but he was putting over NWA totally more than WWE, and he even had that. And it's a misconception of, I'm going to say, smart fans that were reading the kayfabe sheets back in the day. All of the guys that were writing the kayfabe sheets didn't like Hogan because he wasn't a good wrestler. Here's a guy that was drawing ungodly amount of money, but and Joe was kind of pooping on him too, saying, he's not a good worker kind of thing. Why do y'all think that got? Because you're talking about a guy. So what if he had a formula? You guys know it's all a work. Why did the smart? And I'm just asking. There's no correct answer. Why do y'all think the smart fans just pooped on Hogan all the time?
I think it's because, well, first of all, Joel hated WWE, and he's more than admitted that he still doesn't like WWE. He said it on our
he said that on the yeah.
And he hated Hogan. Hated Hogan, considering the fact that they share the same birthday and the same zodiac sign. But anyway, he hated Hogan. A lot of people don't like the fact that a lot of people make money because all they have is a gimmick. All right. Now you look at Steve Austin. Steve Austin has the glass breaking. He comes in, he does all that crazy stuff, throws you in a corner, kicks you in the face 900 times, does a stunner, blah blah. Everybody's got a formula, like you said, okay? But with Hogan, I think people resented the fact that that's all he had. He could not do anything else, and he got paid millions and millions and millions of dollars for that formula and that formula alone. However, people didn't stop and think about the fact that he was an immense draw. No matter where he went, he filled a house just like they do now. I mean,
ungodly amount. People don't
yeah,
understand. That's why I got away from, in the last 2 3 years, I've kind of got, even though I read it, I kind of get away from the mentality, is what I call it, of the smart community, where they think you have to have a 5-star match to enjoy wrestling. Now, I mean, Andre, Hogan, Dusty. Yeah, I just keep naming people. If you want to talk about having, star matches or be big, they weren't, but they were such big draws. And I just thought it was funny that people started, and it happened. People started hating Hogan fan wise. Even the Marks started hating him, and what did they do? They turned him, with
yeah,
one
yeah.
of the biggest turns ever.
The New World Order, yeah.
Yeah, and just but it's just one of those things that I just can't grasp it. I remember thinking that, Flair, back then, Flair was supposed to be the smart fans' favorite wrestler. And Hogan was supposed to be the guy that everybody hated. And after going back and looking, I'm just like, I loved Hogan. I loved those matches. I loved to watch him get beat up and make the comeback. I mean, I did. And I don't understand. But as a fan, I was being swayed to say, no, I mean, I'm a smart fan. I know everything. So,
Well, there you go. That's the answer right there. People who are smart fans, because they may know half of the alphabet worth of reality with a wrestler, they think they know everything. Okay. It's like, let's say, as an example, they know that Hogan's real name is Terry Jean Belay. They know that Hogan lives in Florida. They know that Hogan eats at this restaurant. They know that all of a sudden they think they know everything. And then they're like, well, yeah, he does. He has a gimmick. He has this. He doesn't know, Now, Flair had a formula. There's no doubt about it, where he'd flip over the rope and he'd run to the other end of the rope and come back over and this, that. But Flair was an awesome wrestler. Flair had the gift of wrestling. Him and Ricky Steamboat were some of the best matches I think I've ever seen in my life. Magnum TA. And the reason that the NWA, WCW, whatever at the time, got so much of a push from Rasslin Radio too is because we worked with them. They were kind enough.
That's what I had a question about that, but yeah, I could see that. I could see what y'all, because you know what this may have been the time period, and y'all both may remember this. Do y'all remember that at one point WWE wouldn't even let Bill After and the photographers ringside?
Yeah. That stopped real fast because I remember years ago, anybody could be at ringside taking pictures. That's where George Napolitano was, Bill Apter, Jim Cornette, Paul Dangerously, my brother. I mean, they were all part of that.
That's where I started.
Thing.
I started taking photos.
Exactly. You were able to sneak in the back, and you were able to, now forget it. It's like Area 51. You just can't do anything anymore. And that's why I think a lot of the people get discouraged, because the wrestlers are available to people when they're allowed to be available, but it costs you an arm and a leg, literally. And years ago, when we were involved, it was like heaven. We didn't have to do anything but say, hello, how are you? Would you like to come to my house? Would you like to, and they jumped on it because, again, years ago, wrestlers had to pay for their own everything.
Well, it's also a total different when it comes to, with social media, there's so many of the guys, the older guys you'll talk to, that you'll hear them say, good God, I'm glad they didn't have social media back in the days.
Exactly.
Because they were on the road, and I know this might surprise some people, but some of the wrestlers weren't faithful to their wives. And I'm sorry. That's a shock to everyone.
Some of the wrestlers?
Yeah, it was tough.
Come on, Brian.
Some of the guys kept that have the same wives they've had for years, and all I can say is awesome to them because you're talking guys that were getting so popular. I went to a con recently, and Steve Kern was there, and there was this woman that was Steve Kern and my age. We're very close to the same age, and she was our age, and she was so happy to get a picture with him and be up close with him and up against him. And I was like, wonder if they knew each other back in the day or something, because man, it was, and that's his crowd. Steve Kern's crowd is young guys, women my age or younger guys that remember him in WWE kind of thing. So, but it's fun watching them interact. This is something totally new to me. You had 3 locations?
Well,
that confused me too. I'm like, where? I only worked in one store.
I think they did locations as far as everything together. We had the wrestling store at the I-95 Marketplace. We had the radio show at WDVT. We had our promotions at various different arenas. And I think because we had 3 different names, we had 3 different locations.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to go back to what you said a little bit for a second.
All right.
By the way, I'd love to get Steve Kern. If you're going to go to that con, get anybody you can. I want to have so many people on. But anyway, you have to understand the wrestlers, whether they cheated or didn't cheat on their wives, a lot of them are still married to that same woman today.
Oh, okay? Yeah. That's the reason I can't babe, y'all.
You did. Yeah, you did.
But their wives knew some of that too. You can't.
Of course they did.
Yeah, they knew what was going on, and it wasn't one of those things. And if some of the wives found out, it was over. They left the guy, and it was over.
But the sad part is, a lot of them found out, and not only did they stay, but they blamed the woman, and that really pisses me off because they blamed the woman. When these men clearly are the ones who knew they were married.
Okay, just let me. I hate to do this to my male brethren, but man, a guy has a hard time saying no. So
stop it, Brian.
He does. No, Brian, he does. He has a hard time saying it's his fault. It's what I'm saying. It's a man's fault because you got all these women knocking on your door and wanting to be with you. For 10 or 15 minutes, man, it's hard for them to say no. And
that's bullshit. Excuse me.
It is. Guys get in trouble. So,
all right, where's your wife? I want to talk to her. And it's funny because like these wrestlers, like I knew Dominic's wife, I know Davey's wife, I knew Davey's wife before they even got married. But if you have respect for the person you're with, and this is going to go into a whole nother tangent, so I'm going to stop right here. But because I could go on about this forever. And I'm not going to lie, it's happened to me. It has happened to me where I was with some people at one time or another, found out they were married, and like I've had a couple wives come up to me and say, "You ruined my life." And I'm like, "Look, bitch, it wasn't me." Okay. He knows he's married. He knew it. I did it. So don't even try that with me. Okay. But anyway.
Wait, I want to see Jeannie's face again when you say, "Look, bitch." Go ahead and say it again.
Look, bitch.
Only because I've heard her say this many
times. You've heard it legit right in front. Look, bitch.
Yeah.
I ain't dealing with this.
No, because why? Why? Okay. As an example, all right, if you're, God forbid, if your other significant other, whatever, cheated on you, okay, because maybe she couldn't say no, are you going to blame the man or are you going to blame her for stepping out on this relationship she already knows she has?
I actually blamed the man. That was my first wife, though. We're not together anymore, so.
Well, okay, but nobody can make somebody do something they don't want to do.
No. But temptation is horrible. So, all right, we got on another tangent. Here we go.
Let me go because I can go on like that for hours. But anyway.
Okay, Nikita, talk to us about Nikita because you had. Did she have a love, Jeannie? Was she in love?
Oh my God! Well, no, not in love.
I
would say she was in lust. Yes, she was definitely in lust with Nikita and Nikita's butt. Yes.
Yep. I still have, Jeannie and Brian, I still have pictures. Fans sent me a bajillion pictures of his ass, okay?
Yeah.
And I loved every one of them. I wanted
Yeah.
to frame them all and hang them up, you know? When I met Nikita, extreme disappointment.
Yeah,
Extreme
you
disappointment.
talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you talked about it.
He was, you know, I don't know whether he was, sometimes people confuse ignorance with shy. I don't know. Maybe he was shy. I don't know. But he was not what I expected. He was not as kind as I thought he should have been. Not just because it was me, because of anybody. He was not a people person. You know, he didn't want to talk to my daughter. He didn't
Didn't they
want
play a trick on you though? Wasn't it a big, like they said, Nikita's here or
yeah, they did. They always did stuff like
that
to
wasn't
me.
cool.
And then,
no.
No, and then he didn't want to talk to me anyway. So that really pissed me off. And then he went on my off of my any list that I had, you know, because he was wrong. I'd love to get him on the show today. I really would. As a matter of fact, I'm really trying. You know, every time I reach out, I'm trying to get somebody. A guy that I work with is related to Ted DiBiase, and I'm trying really hard to get him to come on the show, you know, whatever. But no, Nikita broke my heart as far as that went, because it was a popular thing. It was a public thing. The least he could have done was said, okay, I know you're on the radio. I know people know, you know, let's just laugh a little, you know. But no, he didn't. It's like Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler and I had a romance on the radio.
Right.
And he went along with it 1,000%, and it worked, Brian. It was great. Remember, Jeannie?
Yeah. No, I do. I remember. The thing with Nikita, though, and I've seen, I think it was Dark Side of the Ring, maybe. But to this day, till that day when I saw that episode, I didn't know he wasn't really Russian.
I knew she was fixing to say that.
He's talking American. He lost his accent. Oh no, wait. He was so into that character. He never broke it, ever.
No, he didn't.
Even though, you know, he kind of, I agree with you, he should have. I don't really blame him too much, because he was not breaking kayfabe for nobody.
That's what I was just fixing to say. Yeah, he might have been told. You know, you got to remember, he could have been instructed to not say anything, because I mean, you're looking at kayfabe was so strong back then. It was just
it was
impossible that they told him, you know, don't catch yourself at a restaurant or anywhere. And Jeannie's right.
Yeah.
You're looking at
I think he told a story where, you know, he was in you know, like a 7-Eleven or something, or a convenience store or something, you know, on his day off or on away show or whatever. And a fan came up to him, and immediate, you know, the accent and the attitude, like it was just, you know, that, you know, he's a Russian bad guy, and that's the way he's going to act 24/7. Kind of same with Ric Flair. Ric Flair, you know, he never, I mean, whenever he was out, he was, well, I don't want to say every time, but he lived the gimmick, is what I'm trying to say. And
you
so
want to laugh?
Yeah.
You want to laugh at something funny?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the Undertaker lived the gimmick.
Yeah.
Okay, all the time.
Yeah.
You want to know this? Now, this is something for the books. You want to know who else lived the gimmick?
Who?
Ivan. And you want to know why? I was with him for 5 years. 5 years before I knew he wasn't Polish. Or he is Polish, but that he didn't really talk with the Polish accent. He could speak Polish. He really is Polish. But he was born he was born in Poland. He came to Texas when he was like 13 years old, he told me eventually, when the Texan accent came out. And I was like, wait a minute. Because he had gone away from the WWE for a while, WWF at the time. And he came back, and at that time we had the Philadelphia airport, and there was an airport hotel. I was outside of my room, and I just got done taking a shower. I had my robe on. I was talking to a bunch of other wrestlers and blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden I look up and I see him, a whole different person. He wasn't real big anymore. He was svelte. He was built, you know, exceptionally well, and I was dying. He walked toward me, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he goes, Carmela? And I was like, what? He goes, hi. And I'm like, who are you? And he goes, hi. He goes, I just want to come and say hi. I said, stop it. This is not you. I did not know. I swear to God, I did not know. But it is what it is. And a lot of them did live their gimmick. I still want Nikita to come on here, and I still want to yell at him. And I still want to say, I don't care. You should have been nice to me, But yeah, that was what happened with Nikita. But go ahead, Brian.
I wondered about that because y'all were making the. All right, so I called in, and let me see. Here's the note that I said. I said, God, I sounded Southern. Jeez, that was a young me.
Spoiler alert, Brian, you still do.
I know. No, I don't. I don't. I let my wife listen to that, and she's like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Well, that's me." She's like, she said, "You sound so different." And I'm like, "Nah." I said, "I called you girl." I was real Southern too with it. I said, "Girl." Who was the guy that was giving me hell though? His name was Brian Razzie or something. He was sitting in.
Oh my God!
And he was such an ass. And I pat myself on the back, but I think I handled it pretty good. So
you did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah, you did. You really did.
Brian was they used to do a thing where they would ask a trivia question and during the show, and if whoever was the first person to get the trivia question right got to be the guest host of the radio show the following week. And he was the winner of a.
Oh, okay. So he got to sit in, man. He was a total ass about Memphis. Yeah. He watched one show and he didn't like the way they did. I was like, man, God, who is this guy? And I don't remember it happening when it did happen. But I got my mind was, the memory came up, but I remember just always fond memories of, just coming on the show, being able to say what I wanted to say. And then y'all said, see you later, bye kind of thing. But I didn't remember him. All right, let's go to the next episode. That was fun. No, there was something else too. The NWA guys would only talk to Joel and not you. What was the story about that?
Okay. You see, let me explain something to you, okay? And people who know me all these years know that I am me. Jeannie will tell you. Jeannie and I talked in the car not too long ago, and she said to me, I like that Carmela who didn't take any crap from anybody. And I like that. I'm like, but that Carmela's still here. I may have been, talked about. I may have calmed down a little bit where I know what to say, when to say it. But that's what happened. I called everybody out on their crap, okay, all the time. Joel and Paul were more schmoozers, okay? Joel was the upfront man. He got all, he said what he had to say. He did what he had to do, blah, blah, blah. Not me, okay? I was, if somebody was trying to pull my leg.
Go ahead. Just say it. You says you PG'd it. You weren't an ass kisser. And
I was not an ass
guys
kisser.
Love that. Guys in the business love you to be the ass kisser.
And I'm not to this day. I kiss no one's ass. And again, we go back to the wrestling from when people were younger. There were so many women, and this is what I hated about the women. And I'm talking women fans, not women wrestlers. If a wrestler came into the building, everybody ran up to them. Oh, I rented you a limousine. Oh, I bought you this. Oh, look at what I got you. Oh, this. And I remember, and I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to answer your question. But Dominic DeNucci, God bless that man. I loved him to death. And Davey will be the first one to tell you, too. Dominic said to me, he used to always call me kid. And he'd say to me, hey, kid. He said, go get me a cup of coffee. And I'm like, hell no. I'm not getting you coffee. I said, furthermore, if you want coffee and you ask me nicely to go get it, you're paying for it and you're paying for mine or I'm not going.
Right.
And he did. Okay. So when we went to these shows and everything, if a wrestler got snarky or if a wrestler got, a little bit too big on themselves, I would be like, again, and I'm saying it to this day, who the hell do you think you are? You may think you are a god, but you are not. You go to the bathroom the same way anybody else does. You put your pants on the same way everybody else does. Well, maybe different ways, but you still put them on, And no, I'm not doing that. And I got into so many arguments. Jeannie can tell you How many fights did Joel and I and Paul get into at my house?
God. Oh my God.
There was a time that we got into such a bad fight, Joel and I. He literally leaned over my kitchen table right in my face. And he said, I said no. And I said, I don't give a shit what you said. Okay, I am not kissing anybody's ass. I'm not doing it. And I will not to this very day.
I never did anything like, I mean, I would go in and buy food with some guy. We split the tab. I would never buy anything for anyone. I always had a couch. You could sleep on my couch or my floor if you wanted to spend the night. I didn't charge you for that, but I didn't, and then later on, you'd always have that. And one guy that always comes back that says, well, I need something from you. And I'm like, I'm not doing this for free. And I never was that guy that would do stuff for free. And whether it's good or bad, I just wasn't going to kiss ass. I remember Paul Heyman calling me one night and saying, did I have a videotape? And I was like, man, I was just up with him. I was like, I got it. I can get it for you. I can't spend X amount of money. And Paul was like, no. So he got it from one of my friends and gave my friend and back then, this is a lot of money, but $150 to get the videotape shipped, FedEx to him for him to play a rib. But it was one of those things where you had guys and there always was those guys that thought they could take advantage of you because you were outside the business, even though you promoted or whatever you did, you were outside the business. All right. The next episode was episode 11 on your feed. And it was, let me grab it real quick. It was episode 11 was from June the 26th, 1987, if we got the dates right on that. And here's one of the funniest things all the time when people call is Brutus Beefcake Hogan's brother. How many times did y'all get that?
Oh my God. I still get it. I still get it from the Usos. Are they related? And, till to this day, the one thing I do feel bad about, I saw Dark Side of the Ring and where Hogan will not speak to Brutus Beefcake anymore. Right. And that kind of broke my heart. It really did. I'm not going to lie. And that's part of it. And he's a Christian man now, Hogan. And this is another thing. See, I can go off on another tangent. You're going to be a Christian. You're supposed to forgive everybody. That's what everybody says, right? What the hell did that guy do to you that was so horrible that you can't even give him a phone call back? No. See, I don't like that. No, they were never brothers. They were like brothers. But how are you going to do that to somebody? And again, I always look for somebody's kindness. I always look for somebody's consideration of other people. And when somebody doesn't do that.
Listen, bitch. That's what.
Shut up, bastard.
No, see, the one thing about Carmen, I said this to her when we were on that car ride. I said to her, because some people might take her as being too gruff. She only comes off, she reacts to what you're putting out to her. If you're kind to her, she's not going to be a bitch to you. She's a bitch if you're being a bitch to her.
But she's my bitch, damn it.
That's right.
it.
Exactly.
Carmela's our bitch now.
That's right.
It's definitely a karma thing. Whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. So that's
you're right.
And I said that to her. You might be tough, but you're tough when it's warranted. Otherwise, she's the most kind, caring, compassionate, amazing woman that I've ever met in my life.
I mean, that goes back to our
Don't piss her off.
Thank you.
You have the connection. Yeah, you have the connection.
Then all deals are off. But
right. I mean, I Danielle and I were just talking about that today, and she leads all that back to an abusive childhood. I was abused a lot during my childhood, a whole lot. And you have to become protective at some point. Some people, react one way. Some people react another. I became extremely protective, extremely, aggressive with things that are not right, and I don't win every fight. Believe me, I don't, but I don't stop either. If I think I'm right, that's the end of it. I'd rather lose out than give up, so that's simple. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
Tracy, I wrote this and I don't remember why I wrote this, but maybe y'all can feel. I wrote Tracy. Dang, LOL. Who was Tracy? I can't remember. Was that somebody called in or something?
Probably a call, and that doesn't sound familiar at all.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't remember
And did
that.
Joel? Here's another one. Did Joel have a day, and then you have a day? Because y'all were talking about. I didn't know y'all aired the show 2 days a week.
We did in the beginning.
Okay.
We did, but no. The only time we ever had each one of us had a day was if like Joel was going for a Jewish holiday.
Okay.
I was home if my daughter was sick. Whatever. No, but we were pretty much together 24/7.
Yeah, it was rare that they did shows separately.
Yeah. We also had different days for the store. Jeannie was there the 4 days that the store was open. Joel and I took 2 days apiece. Sometimes we were there together, sometimes we were not. But the radio show, the promotion, all the wrestling stuff, we were always together. And Paul, most of the time, was there as well.
Mm-hmm. And we had the famous or the infamous Dennis Carluzzo called in. Is this when y'all's relationship with Carluzzo started? Because he was part of the Memphis trip and part of the Memphis angle there.
Actually, Joel knew Dennis, I believe, before I did. And then we're bringing Frank Chili on as a guest. I'm working with him. We're going to meet with him. Yeah. And he was Frankie the Thumper. They played this gangster kind of thing, where they were hitmen and all that cool stuff, but they played so well. But Dennis was an actual promoter. He had a business, he had his own insurance business, which is how we met. And then he was down around Deptford, if I'm not mistaken, and he was he was a shyster, I'm telling you right now. He was. I'm not going to lie.
Dennis was a worker, is what Dennis was. He was a worker.
And he had an answer for everything. Everything. Like, Dennis, why do you have that pencil sticking out of your brain? What happened? Oh, you'll never guess what happened. I was walking down the street and somebody, I don't even know who it was, let alone he just had a fight with somebody and they stuck a pencil in his head, not for real. But I'm saying that it was just
right.
But he always had an answer, and it had nothing to do with him. It was never his fault.
There was one of my friends that I used to say this about, but Dennis could sell you a sack of crap. Okay. He would take a sack of crap and say, you won't believe this crap right here. Who this crap? You would not believe whose crap it was. You got to buy this crap. Was always super nice to me. Would call and talk for hours and and then we got to talk about, we went from wrestling to real life, and just Dennis was but I always knew, in the back of my mind, Dennis was a good guy, but he was a worker. So whatever, when it came to Dennis. But Dennis, we was on the Memphis trip. Dennis grabbed me and Jamie Ward was one of them, and a couple of other guys. We were all set. Kenny Boland was there. We were all sitting at a restaurant, and the waitress came over, and Dennis says, I got 11 minutes before I got to get in the cab. Can you get us all something to eat in 11 minutes? And she goes, I'll try my best. What do y'all guys want? And I mean, it was like we had our food within 11 minutes, and that place was packed. And I was like,
I hope he left her a nice tip.
He did. We did. Yeah. And then another trip, I don't know if Dennis was, in my mind, he was with us, but we ordered a pizza from Domino's. I know Jamie was part of this. And we get in the Domino's car when the guy comes and have him take us to go get alcohol.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he was delivering pizza, but he drove like an epic maniac in Memphis. And I swear I thought I was going to die that night.
Let me tell you something. Dennis, you could look at Dennis in his face, okay? Kindest man. He's such a kind man. Was, anyway, God rest his soul. But you could look him in the face and you could know he was lying right to your face. But you had to laugh. You had to. Because he was that kind of person. And I don't know, Jeannie, if you remember this, but we had a show. No, Dennis had a show. And part of it was where the wrestlers come out at the end and sell their pictures, all right? Mm-hmm. There was, I forget his name, but he was Raven in the WWF. Okay, was that Hot Body? What was his name when he was?
Scotty Flamingo.
Raven.
Scotty the Body.
Right. Yeah, Scotty the Body.
Okay.
Yeah,
Scotty
yeah,
the
yeah.
Body.
All right. Well, he was Raven in the WWE. He had gotten to the point where he was a little cocky, going back to what we were saying earlier. And Dennis asked me, he said, look, would you try and sell some pictures for the guy? I said, yeah, sure. Why not? So he wanted, I forget how much money he wanted. But I said to him, what do I get for it? He goes, oh, he'll give you a percentage of every picture you sell. Sold 3 pictures for him, 3. At the end of the night, I said, here. And he was like, cocky. And he gave them to me and he goes, that's it? That's all you sold? I said, look, not only did they not sell, okay, but I had to force people to buy these. And I want my percentage of the 3 pictures that I sold for you, which came out to be $1.50.
Yeah,
and
something like that. That was 15 or 20%. Yeah.
I made him give me the $1.50 because I said, again, who do you think you are? I did you a favor. Give me the money, or I'm going to rip all these pictures up right in front of you. I don't care. And that's what happened.
That's so funny because I said something about Downtown Bruno, but I helped Downtown Bruno at the last con I was at in Evansville. And as we got started, we were talking and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, how much you want me to give you? And I'm like, I'm giving away my business cards. I've got this huge crowd, because it's Downtown Bruno. I was like, you don't owe me nothing. And that's what the good people think that. That's the first thing they think is what percentage am I going to give you for this, what you're doing. DC Drake is a name that I remember back in the day in that area. What do y'all remember about DC Drake?
Okay, well, DC Drake is going to be a guest.
Oh, cool,
You know that for sure, yeah. As a matter of fact, when DC Drake comes on, I'm probably going to have Joel, DC Drake, and Glenn Osborne again because they all work very strongly together, okay? DC Drake was your typical cutthroat, bad guy, completely off the cuff, dirtbag, meanie, whatever.
But he was over with your crowd, with your... Yeah. The people were calling in and saying, well, DC Drake's better than that Memphis stuff or better than this. And I was like, I remember the name, and I think Carluzzo used him all the time and Joel used him all the time, but he may have even been on that show that I was on in Philadelphia.
Well, this goes back to what happened when Joel was on the show with us. This is what happened. People do not want to acknowledge it or accept it, and that's fine. But when we ran our wrestling promotions, and this is before Joel started his promotion, we were responsible for a lot of the Attitude Era, a lot of the Blood and Guts, a lot. Then when Joel took over on his own, and again, I say this all the time, God bless him, he took off like a bat out of hell, all right? He did good things, but again, even he will admit it, it all started with Rasslin Radio, and that's where DC Drake came from. DC Drake and Glenn Osborne were all part of the Dennis Caruso, Joel era, I'm going to say, that part. And a lot of people, and they really played their gimmick well. They did, and that's where he came from. And we'll talk to him about it too when he comes on. I don't have a date set for him yet. I'm still talking to him. I want to make sure Joel is going through a little bit of stuff right this minute. So we're going to wait till he's, back and ready, and then we're going to set them up. But you know more about DC Drake back then than I do, Jeannie, right?
A little bit, yeah. I was around for the beginning of the TWA. Went to like 1 or 2 shows, but he had an amazing feud with Larry Winters.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that now.
Yeah. And the one show, I wasn't at that show, but if you look on YouTube, you can definitely find it, I believe. But where I forget what arena they were at, but it was this big arena and there was a second story and they fought throughout the entire arena, and they get up to the balcony and you see DC Drake trying to push Larry off, and and it was kind of dicey there for a while. But yeah, they had some amazing matches.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll tell you, honestly, it's so sad that Larry's not here.
Yeah.
God bless him, rest his soul, him too. But man,
He's another one. You talk about kayfabe and calling him, by his name. I remember we were at your house, Carmela, and Larry came and we were just chatting and everything. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, Larry's not your real name?
Yes.
And then we remembered, oh wait, you did wrestle by Kenny before, so Kenny's
Right.
your real name. He's like, no. And he's like, are you serious? Well, what the heck's your real name?
Yeah, something as simple as John.
John.
Yeah,
Oh,
John.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it yeah. But
And
to
that
this
was
day,
fun.
everybody still calls
Yeah.
him Larry, you know.
All right, I got one last question. We can wrap it up. We're right at the hour. Was from that show. You stated that you saw Kamala pin Andre the Giant. Talk to us about that.
Okay. That was one of the few and far betweens. There were several people who could pick Andre up, and throw him around, but Kamala was able to hold his own. I mean, he really was. Obviously, it was a gimmick, yeah, but it was a really good match. And if I'm not mistaken, he picked him up, flipped him right down, and that was the end of it. And
where was this at? Where was the?
Oh my God, I think it was. Now, don't quote me on this, but I think it was. It could have been wasn't at the arena. That was too old. Probably it might have been an NW. No, it wasn't that either. Never mind. I don't know. I don't remember where it was.
Crazy.
Honestly. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, when Kamala passed away, Dave Meltzer always does the little obituary and talks about. Even though I was a Kamala fan, he started in Memphis. It was a Lawler thing. I just never realized how much money, gate wise, that this guy was making when he was feuding against, especially Hogan, and he had good matches. If you go back and look, another one of those guys who was so over, who people say, well, he wasn't having 5-star match. Man, the crowd was so into him and Hogan, into everything he did.
Okay. Andre he was the most laid back, the most quiet, the most unpublicized person, let's put it this way, compared to Hogan. But he made bank. This guy made money.
Oh yeah.
Match, the one WrestleMania where Hulk Hogan pinned him, flipped him, beat him, all that. Andre got paid $300,000 for that one match. Now that was unheard of, especially back then.
Right.
One thing about Andre, he knew what he wanted, he got what he wanted, or he walked. It was that simple.
Andre was an attraction, and people listen to this that just watch current wrestling, they would not understand it, but it reminds me of I don't know. I want to say a circus attraction, but some circus will have there will be an act like the bearded. I'm gonna say the bearded lady, just for example. She would go to this circus, and then she would move over to this other circus, and she'd move because she was an attraction, and that's what he did. He didn't just work for Vince for a long time. He just worked for Andre. And then he would go to Japan. He would go to, and if he was on the show, and they did the ladies like this for a long time, where the ladies would be in the main event, but you wouldn't see the ladies except maybe once a quarter of the year. And that's what.
God, I'm sorry. No, finish.
Well, just tremendous. Andre was always even. I was just such a fan of his, and I think it had to do with the aftermags and stuff like that, and not ever seeing him live. I didn't know how big he was. I was talking about this just the other day on my podcast, but I had met Giant Gonzalez. And,
wow!
And Gonzalez is very, very big. And my friends will tell you, no matter who I meet, I have this thing where I won't put nobody over. It's like my friends ask me, what'd you think of Giant Gonzalez? Because I met him and I met JYD all in the same in the airport one time. And Gonzalez shook my hand and just, you couldn't even see my little hand, Yeah. But I wasn't gonna let. I said, "Oh, yeah, he was sort of big." That's all I would say. I wouldn't put a big guy over, but they were just so. It's so different, and I don't. Something else I was going to ask. I think that was it. Well, I tell you Kamala's story. So all these years, I watched Kamala on television, Memphis, WWE run, the whole deal, and now he's doing independence, and he's on a show that I'm covering for my website when I had a website. And so I go to the show, I go backstage, I say hi to all my friends, and here's Kamala sitting at a table doing his makeup, and I was just like, I don't mark out, but that is kind of a mark out moment. I mean, and then he says,
Yeah.
I never heard him talk. I had
Yeah.
never heard him talk, and he says, "How's it going, brother?" And he shakes my hand, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck, that's Kamala."
Something like that could either make or break an image that you have of somebody.
Oh, just a super nice guy.
That's the way it is. Like, and getting back to Andre, another thing Andre did, and he could do this because he was Andre. If there was a situation he didn't like, and he wasn't going to fight with you about it, he would shoot in the ring.
You didn't want to shoot. Andre was one of those guys. I think the only guy that people say got the best of Andre when they were young was Ming, Haku, the father of the guys on WWE right now. He got the best of him one time. They got off the bus. There's a story where they get off the bus in Japan, working for Japan. He's like, Haku says, "Get off the bus," and Andre says, "You don't want me to get, you don't want me to get off the bus." "Yeah, I want you to get off the bus." And Haku stood his own. Haku's a big man, but he's not Andre size. But people were scared of Andre. You got a man that could just sit on you, and you're not going to be able to.
But see, here's the thing with Andre, though. Andre, like I said, was one of the kindest people you would ever meet in your life, and that's
we got to do an Andre show. I told you
definitely. We're going to do an Andre show because I got stories like up the butt about that. But anyway, up the butt, I do. But anyway, he fought, and I forget who he fought. I think it was some Japanese wrestler. Damn it, I can't think of the name. But anyway, he shot so much in that match that his opponent, and I will get the name, and we'll do it on the Andre show, but his opponent could not wrestle. He could not do anything. Andre wouldn't move. He wouldn't get up.
I think that was a Inoki match, wasn't it?
It might have been Inoki. Yeah, it might have been Inoki.
He just sat down. God. Yeah, he just sat down.
And every time Inoki was trying to do what the match required, Andre's just like, not doing it,
Yeah.
But that sometimes he did it because he was drunk. Sometimes he did it on purpose, though. But I remember, I'm going to tell you this one more thing, and then we can cut out. I went to Georgia. I went to Georgia with Andre the Giant, my mother, and my ex-husband Paul. We went to Georgia. We actually drove him there in our New Yorker. 15-hour ride with Andre the Giant in the backseat of the car. All right.
Oh, God.
That whole weekend, that he spent the weekend with us there. That whole weekend was a story and a half. And I'm not going to say it now, but I will.
No, let's do it. And that was Maeda. He was in the ring with Maeda. At the time, Maeda had
that's who it was.
Yeah, Maeda had did the shoot kick on I believe he'd already done the shoot kick on Ricky Choshu, and he'd started his own promotion or right before this. But yeah, he wouldn't. He wouldn't work with him. All right, guys, I'm done. I need to produce this, and I'm not going to do anything else.
I got to get to my wrestling show.
Oh yeah, you do, and I have to do absolutely nothing. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody one more time. I have to do this because you got it, Brian. You got to say hi, Debbie. You have to.
Oh, hey, Debbie, how's it going? I hope you're having a great day.
Yeah, and next week is my birthday weekend. We're going to do the big show on my birthday weekend. I'm so excited. So you guys have a great day. I will talk to you later, okay?
Yes.
Love you. Have a nice day. Love you, everybody.
Guys.
Love you, Brian. See you later.
Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.